Where I'm standing used to be a mature tree that died, and I replaced it with this Mount Atlas Mastic Tree that was a 36-inch box, a huge tree. And in this video, we want to talk about how to dig out a tree on your own with just the help of a friend, and how to plant a big tree in your own yard once you get the stump out. So first I want to talk about how I chose this tree, which is the Mount Atlas Mastic Tree, because it's not a tree you normally see when you drive down the street, you go to just any random yard. This is a tree that I saw at the Boyce Thompson Arboretum, which is one of the largest and oldest arboretums in the Southwest United States. It's just beautiful. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it. It's just an hour east of Phoenix. And I often go there and I look for trees because I know that if they're there, I can grow them too. And they have a huge collection of trees. And I was looking for something that could take full sun, that would get big, because this is an area where we spend time and I wanted to provide shade for my family in this courtyard area. I also needed it to be super hardy because there's turf here. I don't like turf as a gardener, but this is how the backyard is designed for this house when I moved in. So I'm not going to rip off all this brick and turf before I think about which tree would just do well here. So this is a type of pistache tree, which is kind of like the common ones are like a Chinese pistache or red push pistache. Those are ones you see everywhere. But this Mount Atlas Mastic Tree, I wrote it down and Googled it, and I thought, I'm never going to find it anywhere. There was only one nursery that I could find, whether it was Etsy, online, anywhere. And it was about an hour away from me in Mesa. And so I called them, I said, do you still have this tree? And they said, yes, we have 2 of them, but they're only in 36-inch boxes. So huge trees, hundreds of pounds, 15-foot tall tree. And I'm like, I've never planted a tree that big before. I don't like planting a tree that big, but I want this tree. And so I gave it a shot, and here's the result. Now I'm going to talk about how I planted this tree and how we made it look pretty like this. So this is what remains of the mature dead tree that we removed. And this is an ash tree. So it's pretty big. It was about 30 feet by 30 feet. I think it was about 10, 15 years old. And this was a really hard tree to remove. I've removed an ash tree like this before, just by hand, where I just dig around it, cut out the roots that spread out like that. But for whatever reason, this tree had roots going straight down that I couldn't get to. And I want to show you what that looks like. And that's why I had to call a friend and have him bring a winch with a pickup. And you can see, like, this root in particular was going straight down. This one here was going straight down. And so until we could really kind of bend it over, and then I could get in there with a saw to cut, it just wasn't coming out of the ground. Whereas most trees that I've removed, even ones that are bigger than this, I can do it on my own just by hand. So you don't really know until you get in there and start removing the dirt and start cutting out the roots. So just be prepared for anything when you're removing a big tree. So I want to talk about planting a large tree, whether it's a 24-inch box or a 36-inch box, just something that you can't just pull out of the pot and then put it in the hole. What you do is you set it on its side, so it's a bit diagonal, put something under it, and hammer out the bottom of the pot. Then you remove that, turn it back straight up again, and then drag it towards the hole. For me, I was doing that on my brick here, and then I had to lay down a tabletop, which you could use wood or something like that, so it wouldn't get stuck in the clay and sand that I have here. And we had to drag it across and plop it into the hole that was already dug. We took out this big tree, so there's already a big hole there. That's why it was relatively easy, because the hardest part of planting a tree is digging the hole. And so once we have it in the hole, you still have the 4 sides of the box that are on there, but it's in the hole now. Now you take out the 4 sides of the box, one at a time, take it out, and then you just got your tree in there. The issue with that is it's kind of hard to scrape away at the roots. So with this one, I kind of looked at it pretty closely, and it was mostly just dirt all around. I didn't see any like roots going around in the box that were strangling each other. I couldn't even see roots on the edges of the box. So I wasn't really concerned by that. The concern for this tree was really that it was planted too high. So when we dragged it over, a bunch of dirt and sand fell in with it before it got to the hole because it's so heavy. And so you can see that it's kind of planted about 3 inches above grade. Normally I like to plant about 1 inch or 2 above grade. So this is higher than I'd want it to be. And because there's turf here, it's gonna look a little bit weird when I put the turf back. But the thing about it is, most trees will settle about 1 inch as well. So I expect this to be about 1 to 2 inches above grade eventually, once it settles, because there was just so much space in there that we mostly filled with dirt. And with a tree this big, you really should expect it to settle. And I would just say with planting trees, the worst thing you can do is plant it below grade. So even if it's slightly above grade, you should be okay with that. The other thing I would mention is you might look at this and see like a mound, almost like a volcano. Most people say don't do that, and I agree. Like, you want kind of this edge around it so you can fill it, flood it, and then let the roots go out. With this here, I can't really do that because of the turf area as well. So each area has a lot of unique considerations, whereas this one is surrounded by brick and turf. So I can't do it how I would want in just an open field where I'm just planting an open space. So think about your area and what you might have to consider. I just need to come out here and water with a hose, make sure that it's getting soaked out here too, so that the roots can spread out, and then kind of monitor this in the summer because turf does get super hot. So that's the planting process. And I think I will never buy a 36-inch box tree again. It was so painful because the thing was probably 400 pounds. And we had 2 guys dragging it, me and a friend. And, you know, both of us were worried about hernias the whole time we were doing it, just because we were putting our full effort into it and sliding it in there. So, and it wasn't a perfect job either, even though I think it looks pretty good now. The only reason I purchased this big of a tree is just because it's the only one I could find in the whole country. And it was not that far away from my house. And I did it myself because the planting fee was $300. I didn't want to pay that. And I already paid $750 for this tree because it's a huge tree. So I thought I could plant it myself. And in the end, I'm glad we did it. I'd just never do it again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. You learned something new. And you got to see a tree that maybe you've never seen before or have never heard of. I'm going to put a link into the video about a way to remove a stump that I really like, which shows it in more detail than what I was able to provide here today. But you can still see the end result, and I think this is going to be a beautiful tree, providing shade and tons of fall color. So if you like this video, hit that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to this to see more content like this. We make videos about rare, interesting, and fun trees in a harsh environment here on Touchgrass Gardening. I hope you come back again next time.